Hello out there. This is Jill Leach-Klajic with the Sonora Writers Group, and I have here today as my guest
Glenn Ditman.
Glenn Ditman, and a member of the Sonora Writers Group. And Glenn is an author. You have 2 books?
Yes.
He has 2 books, and today you're going to talk to us mainly about your anthology, your children's book. But tell us a little bit about your first book you wrote.
The first book that I wrote is an Arcadia book, which is about the town of Riverbank. It's a historical book. What inspired that was I had 2 great-grandfathers who were basically founders of the town. So I decided to go ahead and find out some of the rest of the history of Riverbank, and it was very fascinating and interesting researching that.
Okay, and when was that?
That was published in 2013, I believe.
And
so
then
it's been a while back.
Kind of a kickoff from that is your novel that you're writing right now, which is really fabulous.
Yes, I'm working on one that's entitled The Excellent Life of Ellen, The Growth of an Oak Tree. And it is about my aunt, Ellen Ditman Miller. She grew up down in Stanislaus County in Riverbank, and then when she married, she moved up here to Tuolumne County. So there's probably going to be a second book on Tuolumne County.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll be looking forward to that.
Oh, I'm sure you will. You guys have been enjoying that so much.
Oh, I know. We really like that story. Go ahead and tell us about your anthology that you're going to read from today.
Okay, the anthology is a collection of 3 different short stories.
You have to give the title.
Oh,
Absolute
okay.
title.
Okay, it is Glen Allen's anthology, and it is 3 short children's stories that I wrote. One of them is based on my experiences in kindergarten with a very, very difficult teacher.
Me.
No, not you, but
Me,
not me,
yes.
No. Yeah, not her. The kindergarten teacher was very mean. The second story is one that kind of came to me on a Saturday afternoon. It's and the first one is entitled Crabby Mrs. Crabtree. The second one is entitled How the Mockingbird Lost Its Song. So that one just kind of came to me on a Saturday. The third one is entitled, if I can get that out, A Christmas Tale. It is about a bunch of animals who help a ranger during Christmas time because he breaks his leg, his wife is pregnant, so they go in to help him set up the Christmas tree and stuff like that. So all of them are, I've been told, are very fascinating tales, good for children.
Yeah.
And
Inspiring.
Yes, definitely.
And then you're writing another children's book too that's really neat.
Yes, I'm writing
Quite a
one
twist.
entitled Catnipsel. It's a twist on the fairy tale of Rapunzel, and I just got an illustrator, so that one, the illustrations are fantastic. So I'm looking forward to publishing that one too.
And
yes.
we'll get you back in here for that one with all the pictures because they are just
Oh
fabulous.
yes,
Really,
must.
Really
Yes.
neat. Okay, so read.
Okay.
Give us a little taste.
So I will read from the first tale called Crabby Mrs. Crabtree about that nasty kindergarten teacher. Gary Goodman had heard that his new kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Crabtree, was very old and very crabby. Her former students told him that she was so old that her face had wrinkles upon her wrinkles. Her hair, they said, was withered and gray and showed only one possible sign of its former color. On the back of her head, it was said, was one long wispy strand of what appeared to be blonde hair. But it was hard to get a look back there because Mrs. Crabtree, like so many other teachers, had eyes in the back of her head. It was nearly impossible to tell, therefore, what her real hair color had once been, and probably even dangerous to dare to try and find out. As for her meanness, or crabbiness as we shall call it, there were some things that she actually did like. One of her favorite things, the first grade students told Gary, was tea, but the more bitter the tea, the better Mrs. Crabtree liked it. She is full of bitterness, claimed some second graders. She likes persimmons and very sour lemons, said the third grade boys and girls. Her mouth puckers when she eats them, and it makes her terrible frown somehow even more frownier, the fourth grade informed him. And oh yes, said a fifth grader, she also likes apples, but not the ordinary ones, however, not the ones brought to school by boys and girls for their teachers, which are large and shiny red or green, and definitely not the Granny Smith. Those are too sweet for her. What she really likes, as you can probably guess, are crab apples. No, if all this wasn't bad enough for poor Gary, there was one problem in particular which really bothered him. Mrs. Crabtree, it was said, absolutely, positively, without any doubt, and to the best of anyone's knowledge, did not like little boys. Gary hoped that all he'd heard about Mrs. Crabtree was not true. Surely no one could be that mean, he thought. The older kids are only trying to scare me. Well, Mrs. Crabtree wasn't as bad as Gary was told. Oh no, instead she was much worse. She was so mean that she never opened the blinds in the classroom, never letting the sunshine inside to shine upon her students' heads. She had no pets in the room, no flowers and no pictures. When she wrote on the chalkboard, she banged the chalk into it with a rat-a-tat-tat noise. And if it broke, she grumbled and spoke of how cheap chalk was these days, and how she would sue the store at which she bought it. No one dared to interrupt her as she was writing, for if they did, she took her long, talon-like nails and dragged them across the board, clawing with a noise something like a dying animal in intense pain. Once and only once during the day could anyone use the bathroom, and the use of drinking fountains was strictly forbidden. Gary also began to notice that as mean as Mrs. Crabtree was, she favored the girls more than the boys. The girls were placed closer to her desk as well as closer to the door and windows. This was convenient for them, as they were dismissed first to use the bathroom, and when it could be used, first to go to recess and first to leave school at the end of the day. Little boys must grow up to be gentlemen, Mrs. Crabtree would say, and let little ladies go to places ahead of them. Things did not end here, however, for the little girls' stories were liked better. The few pictures they were allowed to draw praised more highly than those of the boys. It seemed everything the girls did was better than that done by the boys. To top it off, the girls' milk money was never once lost, but that of the boys constantly came up short somehow. One way or another, several of the boys always had to do without the milk they knew their parents had paid for. 2 months later, when Halloween came around, Mrs. Crabtree gave her students raisins. That in itself was bad enough, but she gave one and only one package to the boys, where she gave 2 to the girls. At Thanksgiving, the class had a special dinner prepared by Mrs. Crabtree. The girls were given the best portions of meat from the small turkey that was served. Once the girls were finished, all that was left for the boys were some gizzards and some fat. At Christmas, Mrs. Crabtree put up the smallest of trees without any decorations, though there were actually presents underneath it. These, when they were open, were revealed to be only rulers. And was Gary only seeing things, or were the girls' rulers slightly wider, slightly longer than the boys? And were they also shinier and somehow brighter than those of the boys? And I will stop there and leave you in suspense. Ooh. Now, this book can be found in several different places. It is at the Mountain Bookstore in the Junction. It is at Here's the Scoop down in Jamestown. And you may also find it online on Amazon.
And the title again?
The title again is Glen Allen's Anthology. 3 great children's stories for your children to read, or for you to read to them.
And thank you very much, Glenn Ditman.
Thank you, Jill.
Very glad to have had you here today.